Well, hello, all you out there in webinar watching land, which right now I think is Facebook and YouTube. But in the future, who knows where you might be looking at us from. But thank you for tuning in. Now, if you've been following along, we've been doing this series of webinars introducing you to features from Drafted Digital, giving you tips about how to use those things. How to get the most out of them. And Lexi has actually been one of our best go-to resources for learning more about how all this works. And today I'm pretty excited about this one, actually. I'm a big fan of bits and bobs. I like knowing the niche stuff that happens behind the scenes and the tools that I may not have realized were there. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. But first, welcome, Lexi, to the webinar. Thank you for helping us out.
No, it's been my pleasure. And if you like bits and bobs, then this is Bits and Bobs, the webinar. So
I mostly just like saying bits and bobs.
It's a good phrase. It feels good to say.
It does feel good. I feel very it's a very Anglophile kind of phrase to say. So now, before we get started, I want to remind everybody watching, because I always forget to do this, but if you are watching live or listening live, this is a pre-recorded broadcast, but you can still ask any of your questions in the comments below. Feel free to ask us anything you want. We've got people lurking, monitoring, ready to answer whatever questions you pop in there. And if you are not watching live, or if your question didn't get answered, feel free to email us at support@drafteddigital.com, and we'll be happy to answer any of those questions. And of course, you can pop over to our blog, drafteddigital.com/blog. We'll give you a resource that you can use. So all that said, so Lexi, let's bring up your screen, because you're actually sharing with us right now.
Yep.
Well, that's a familiar looking page.
Yeah, I know. It's our very beautiful D2D homepage. I figured this is a good place to get started. And just this is not necessarily a feature, but because it comes up with some authors, and probably not authors who are watching us now, since you're here, but in the odd chance you just stumbled upon us, this live in 2 days in the top of my corner is a feature of our site. A lot of authors will ask, does this mean my book is live in 2 days? Does this mean something else, like something is happening to my account in 2 days? This is literally just a notification for the next time we're going to be going live with one of our events, one of these wonderful events that Kevin has mentioned, which I think this actually counts as one of those. So just important fun facts to know. Figure that's a nice easy plug there. But
pop back over that. I want to take a look. I want to drill down on a couple of things on this page, because this page itself is a resource, because not only is it counting down to the next live event, but you also gain access to past webinars that we've recorded. You can, this is where you can kind of get all your D2D live related stuff in essentially one place. So
and you can follow us on YouTube, you can follow us on Facebook. This really is your one-stop shop for our live events.
And
so
that's going to get better as we go.
I like to think they're wonderful, but you are right, everything just goes up from here. So but a lot of this the features I'm going to bring up today actually will be found under account, and obviously there's a lot of options in account, a lot of things that people don't interact with that often, and a lot of the ones I want to bring up today are actually in advanced user options, which a lot of people are just going to look past because it's advanced, and a lot of our authors don't need these advanced features or don't need to think about that too much. But a lot of these features do come down to the question of, well, I'm not sure if D2D is for me because I have this niche situation. And we've actually made it a habit of working on some products or some functions that help people in those niche situations to make D2D suit their needs a little more. So one of the first ones I thought I would bring up, because it was a heavily requested feature, especially from a lot of authors who are a little more involved in their authorial process, or just have people in their process that they want to work with. And that's enabling account sharing. Obviously, I already have this one checked off. So to turn on these functions, you check the checkbox, and then there's a save option at the bottom of this page. When you enable account sharing and you go back to your account options, you will see account sharing as the option right after advanced user options. So what this basically gives you is the ability to give another person access into your account, whether that is your assistant, whether you have a very friendly neighbor who's helping you upload your books, whether you just have a technically savvy grandchild who is handling the uploading end of your process. We've seen it run the gambit from people who are just uploading their first book to people who make a career and a habit of uploading books every week. There's inevitably going to be a lot of situations where you might want someone to be able to do things on your behalf, but you don't want to give them access to your account. We make it very clear that you don't really want to be giving people account access to your personal account, because that is a security issue that's going to open you up to potential issues from there, and you're really responsible for what people do when they're logged into your account. Meanwhile, account sharing enables you to just give someone remote access, essentially. So this in terms of account sharing, the person that you're sharing your account with does have to have their own draft to digital account. So typically if you send this request first, they will be prompted to make their own account before they can have access. But basically you just type in the person's email address. So, kevin.tumlinson@drafttodigital.com. And yep, right there, it will let you know if it's a confirmed user. Meanwhile, we're going to just say hotmail.com, and no draft digital user on file. So
I
it's
haven't re-upped my Hotmail account.
I know. How dare you in the year 2022 not have a relevant Hotmail account that also has a draft to digital account? Actually, considering we don't want allow people to have multiple accounts, good job on your part. That you're actually doing great. So as you see here, you even get the option to set permissions. So right now we don't allow access to accounting data. This is something that we have here as potentially a future option. But what you can allow is book management, which is what most people are using this function for. This essentially gives the person you're giving access the ability to create books, edit your existing books, publish your books, push price changes, delist your books, essentially anything that can be done under the My Book tab. You're giving them access through your account, through their account, to get to your account.
Yep.
Additionally, you can enable them to access sales data. So this is most of what you can find under your reports, whether that's your sales charts, whether that's your finalized reporting. This will allow them to have access to that. So in case you have someone who keeps track of your sales or who handles your financial end, this is a great amount of access you can give them. So you can enable one of these, you can enable both. You also are consenting when you do this, that you acknowledge and agree, that you assume the risks and take responsibilities for the actions of the people accessing your account. So you want to make sure that if you're giving someone access to your account, this is someone you trust. They obviously have a sweeping amount of access to your books, to your information. Obviously, most information isn't going to be found in the management, in the books section, or even the sales data section. They're not seeing your more confidential like payment information. That's obviously locked for security reasons. But you do want to make sure that the person you're letting in is someone you trust with the livelihood of your books, essentially. So once you enable sharing my account, that will send the message to whoever you're giving access to, in this case, Kevin. And it will actually let you know here when they've last accessed your account. That way you can keep track of that. In case you were wondering, like, oh, did they push something today? Or I don't remember doing this. You can see when they've interacted with your account. It'll also remind you what you've enabled them to do. So in this case, you could even disable these options. So if I no longer want Kevin to have access to my reports, he can't anymore. I have all of that kind of power. Ultimately, it is your decision what permissions you allow. And of course, you even have the ability to completely revoke permissions. So that would take away that person's ability to act on your behalf and access your account. Now, of course, this is only how you set this up. What's also important is how someone would use this function on your behalf. So in this top corner, when someone has shared access to an account, like I do with my personal account, my non-test account, they will have a drop-down option in the top right corner of the website. And you will see the difference here is the one with the crown is the one that you currently are using. That is your account. And then you also have this secondary account denoted with the little user icon and a red bubble. So I can switch over to that. You will see that you're now managing another person's account. So this red obvious banner is so that we make sure that people aren't accidentally making changes to the wrong account. Right. That way it's just clear throughout the process that you're interacting with someone else's books, not your own. And then from here, you can do the same things that you can do on your own account, whether that's set up a new book, publish, delist, anything you can do on your account with your books, you can now do on this person's account because they've given you access. So like I mentioned, this is just a very useful tool for people who aren't going through the publishing process on their own, and they want to give someone who's in their process, someone who is offering them assistance, more access so that they don't necessarily have to be the middleman between whatever that person's doing, whether it's maybe your graphic designer or your layout person or just anyone that you think is it warrants having this kind of access to your account. So that is kind of the first niche function. So if your question is, can I use Draft2Digital? My assistant does most of the work for me, or I have someone who's looking to do the work on my behalf. Can I use Draft2Digital? Yes, you can with account sharing. So another function that we have here this one is more niche, but this is for the people who have the question of, I have a book that I want to publish, but the rights to my book in a certain region are handled by someone else. A lot of times this is either someone has gained access to be the publisher for a book, but only in a handful of regions, or someone has maybe their own book and they have a publisher who is handling their process in maybe the UK and Australia, but the rest of the world they can publish on their own. And that's where we enabled territorial rights management. This used to be a process that would involve a lot more communicating with support, a lot more work on the back end from us. And we wanted to give this tool to authors so that they can use it on their own behalf without really having to go through us. So once again, it's another checkbox. You just enable territorial rights management. You save, and now we can go to a book project that gets to the step 4, because that is where this process lives. So we're going to go to step 4. Obviously, once you start a new book project, you will not see this until you get to the final step. This is where you select your prices, you select your vendors. You always have the option for managing territorial prices, which in and of itself is, I wouldn't even call this a niche option. This is honestly just an option a lot of authors use because there are benefits to having more minute control of certain regions. So say my book's $4.99 in the US and I don't want to just set the price based on the exchange rates in Canada. I can set it specifically to $4.99 in Canada. I can set it to $3.99 in Britain, and I can have that kind of control over these regions. this isn't honestly a niche function. It's just a very useful function for authors who have international promotions or just like that kind of degree of control over their price setting. The thing that is a little more niche is what we enabled here. So if you don't have territorial rights enabled on your account, you're only going to see managed territorial pricing under this box. Here you see I have managed territorial rights. So when I click on that, I have the option now to exclude or include territories. So, for instance, if, like I said, maybe your book's already being published in the UK and Australia, so you can exclude the Australia, you can exclude the UK, and you can apply the rights, and that's going to submit your book so that when you publish, it will go to all the available regions that your vendors go to, but it will leave these two out. So your book's not going to be in the Apple UK store. It's not going to be in the Apple or Amazon Australia store. Meanwhile, you can also switch it to include and say you only have the authority to publish in the Canada and the United States. Once you apply these rights, now your book's only going to be available in those specific regions. So, like I said, this isn't a tool that a lot of authors are necessarily going to need, but for the authors that use this, this is very important because the legality of publishing where you do and do not have rights certainly matters. And this enables us to give the access to those tools to the authors that can really benefit from it the most. Now, going back to advanced user options, I have one more tool in this set of options that I really want to highlight, and it is enabling Apple-specific cover support. So I believe in another webinar I might have mentioned it, but if I did not, Apple is very particular with how they handle cover images. They have a requirement that when you submit a cover to them, it has to be a flat front cover image. So a portrait style rectangle of your front cover. Now, a lot of authors, and I have an example here, a very generic example, they like 3D images for their 3D cover designs for, say, they have a book set or an anthology, something that might benefit from having from showcasing a 3D design, or some people just like the way it looks. Everyone has their own aesthetic preferences. Now, when I mentioned before, a lot of these functions are, can I use D2D if I want this? So in this case, can I use D2D if I really want my 3D cover image everywhere, but I also do still want to go to Apple? Can I do both? And once again, this is another process that for a long time was really gated behind reaching out to support. And it is, once again, another tool that we really wanted to give to our users. So when you enable the Apple-specific cover support, let's just create a new book project. We're not going to go super deep into this, but I figured this will be the easiest way to showcase this. So I can say that I have front cover art, and we're going to use the 3D cover art that we had previously found. This is what's going to go to pretty much all of our vendors, because beyond Apple, the other stores that we work with do allow for 3D covers at this moment. But you'll see now that we also have a new field, the Apple-specific cover art. So if you have uploaded a 3D style cover in the front cover art fields, upload a 2D cover for Apple here. So this lets us take a flat cover, which we're just going to use the same one we used from my previous webinar, test book for D2D. And this enables it so that we have the cover for everyone and then the cover specifically for Apple. And if you're ever in a situation where you decide, okay, I actually really like the way my front cover image looks. I want to use that for everyone. You can go ahead and you can even remove the Apple specific cover here, and then just use this cover for everyone. Leave this Apple specific field blank, and you can proceed from there. So this just gives you, once again, more control, more access over what what we're sending to stores and how you want to present your book to readers. Because while we obviously have to work within the limitations of either a store's policies, in the case of territorial rights, legal policies, we still want to make sure that we're giving you as much control as we can allot, to give you the best vision of what you want your book to look like to other people. And in that regard, we do actually have one more thing that is not a advanced user option, but is a recent. Yep, we'll get into this one. It's a recent feature that I wanted to highlight because it is, once again, giving authors a tool that we didn't previously have before. So for authors who have used our conversion from Word to ebook, you'll be aware that the conversion is not one-to-one. In the process of creating an ebook file, a lot of formatting from Word is altered or stripped out to make the ebook we create a more cohesive, reflowable book project, which in a lot of cases works out great. We created our formats to be the most sweepingly effective across both fiction and nonfiction, following similar formatting guidelines. So in the case of fiction, as you've read most fiction books, will start their paragraphs with an indentation. Meanwhile, most nonfiction books don't indent their paragraphs, but have a small amount of space between paragraphs instead. And neither of these options really worked in an ideal way for authors who were publishing poetry. Poetry was a situation where we didn't really have an ideal solution for authors for a while, and we at support came up with a lot of workarounds for authors, but it certainly added more time, more effort, and just more need to contact us instead of doing what authors want to do, which is plug their book in, submit it, and publish. So thankfully, our wonderful technical team and our graphic design team came together, and they came up with new poetry formatting guidelines. So it sounds simple, but it's really enabled poetry authors or poets to just be able to do what it is clearly the most logical thing for their poems, and our system is interpreting it as they're looking for it. So in our other formats, when you create 2 line returns between text, our system's always interpreted that as a scene break. And depending on your style type, it is led to a scene break graphic to go in there, which is great for fiction or nonfiction. What it's not ideal for is poetry, where in most cases authors are looking to create stanzas, nice, clean, empty stanzas. So now when you use the options under the poetry heading of step 3, which let me find a book project that has access to step 3. Perfect. So when you go to step 3, you have the options on the side here. Your all-purpose, mystery, romance, and sci-fi. Those are all fiction styles. You have your nonfiction styles, your block, and your textbook. Very professional, very standard. But then you also have poetry. So this is a case of simple, maraschino, minimal. Okay. The file type I'm working with in here is unfortunately not poetry, but it does create clean little scene breaks between texts, right? Like right here. So this
just extremely long stanzas.
It's extremely long stanzas. But yeah, so this essentially enables authors who are trying to publish poetry to have a style that is going to work within the conventions of their field in the same way that we have been catering to fiction and nonfiction authors. We're not trying to exclude poets. Poetry and poets are extremely valid and certainly a pretty significant part of our D2D family. So giving these tools, once again, it's just another option to make sure that if you're a poet with D2D, we're giving you tools to make sure your book is going to look the way you want it to look and is going to really showcase your art, your writing. So those are pretty much the major kind of niche options that I wanted to highlight for authors who are wondering, is D2D going to work for me? Is this a tool that is going to give me what I need? The last thing that I want to bring up, and this is just a thing that authors should know, because a lot of our authors like to talk. Kevin, notably, you love to talk. And authors talk to each other. And while we're really flattered, a lot of people talk about D2D to other authors.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that, we have a Refer a Friend program that you can find under your account section that comes with a referral link that you can even customize. So if you're trying to talk to a friend and you think that D2D is going to be a good fit for them, you can actually use this Refer a Friend link option and have them sign up through that link. And it will actually allow you to have a portion of royalties not taken from your friend, because we're certainly not looking to have you take from the pocket of your own friend. That doesn't sound like a great way to make new friends. But you will receive a portion of our royalties, in fact, for the sales that your friend makes for the next 2 years. So this is just another tool for the authors who are already in D2D, love D2D, and just want to be able to share that with their friends, with their fellow authors. So with that, I believe that that's all of the more niche or lesser known features of D2D that I think that authors deserve to know about. And I hope that even if there are a couple authors who just never knew about these tools, but realize now that they would definitely work for them or suit their needs, I hope that I've given them those tools.
All right. Well, thank you for running us through all that. And what's interesting to me, what I like about all of that, is that it shows that we are here at Draft Digital, we're doing a lot more behind the scenes than people probably think. And we're thinking about this business in ways that some people don't even consider. So, just things like that Refer a Friend page there. That is an opportunity for you, not just as an author. I mean, if you're a podcaster, YouTuber, something like that, you can actually use that and promote Draft Digital to your financial benefit. I don't know very many programs that offer like a full 2-year royalty split on something like that. So we're pretty unique in that way. I don't think anyone else is doing that. But that is going to wrap us up then on this little inside look at the bits and bobs of D2D. And Lexi, thank you so much for being a part of it and being our Sherpa once again.
It was my pleasure. I'm always happy to, help our authors. It's what I've been doing for several years here now. So
exactly. And several more years to come, I'm sure. So for everyone watching right now, thank you for tuning in, watching or listening, frankly. And be sure to bookmark d2dlive.com. Go to that site. We showed you that. That was one of the bits or bobs that we demonstrated earlier, where you can get a countdown to the next live stream that we'll have. And you can also find past shows. Make sure you're going there and bookmarking that. Make sure that you are following us, subscribing to us on, you know, these little sites you may have heard of, like YouTube and Facebook and TikTok. If you go to youtube.com/draftdigital or facebook.com/draftdigital, you can like and follow and subscribe, click little bells, do all the things. And of course, check us out on TikTok. Now, we got a special URL for TikTok to help make it easier to find us. If you go to D2D.tips/TikTok, you'll find us there. So beyond that, I think we're wrapped for the day, and we're going to do a couple more of these webinars. Let us know what you think of these. Let us know if you're discovering anything new. If there's something here that surprised you, we would love to hear about it in the comments. And beyond that, that's going to wrap us up for the day. So,
all right.
Well, take care, everybody, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.